Welcome back to our coverage of the World Para-Alpine Skiing World Cup here in Sakhalin. It's time for the second run of the giant slalom. Well, we've had some interesting weather, we've had some fantastic racing, we've had some wonderful sportsmanship over the course of the first week of action here in Sakhalin. We're into the final few days. These some of the shots from earlier as the athletes checked out the run, pointing out the pitfalls and the areas that they might be able to gain time. And of course, for the majority of these athletes now, it's about trying to gain time. The leaders have their lead. Vronchikina, Mosova, Kirka, Walsh and Bertagnoli. For the rest, it's about playing catch-up. Fall in the second run and all the good work you did in the first is undone. Ski hard or go home. Marta Parchet, the left-hand side there earlier on, discussing with the French coaching staff. An unusual position for Parchet, outside of the top positions. And here's what we've got to look forward to in the second run. All 6 categories still running. Mosova and Fliegel will go in the women's VI. Here's the first of the 4 runners, again just to check out the conditions on the mountain. The sun's actually shining on the backside of the mountain. It's just clouded over here this afternoon a little bit on this competition side of the hill. There's a chance from earlier on to see what it looks like as you hurtle down the mountain. Again, the city of Juzhno-Sakhalinsk. Majority of people on the island of Sakhalin live here in this city. Over 400,000 of an island that hosts just around about 500,000 or so in terms of population. Some of the most expensive land in all of Russia, only second to Moscow. Oil and gas rich, and an island that until 1945 was owned by Japan. 1960 it became the first Soviet ski resort. I can tell you now, having been here on Saturday and Sunday, it was crowded. It's taking part as well. Who will stretch their lead? Who will lunge into the front? Until we've gone around fully, we won't know the answers. Women's VI athletes just derobing from the coach. They'll be the first out. Again, Laurie Stevens just going through her regime and her routine. third forerunner getting ready as well. Warmed up a little bit. We've added 6 degrees. It's still -6. Certainly had all of the elements over the course of the competition here. 50 gates. A few down on this morning's run. A drop of some 353 metres. You see the forerunner at the top right of your screen just making their way down. The opening section is quite steep. This part there is a real quick drop from a right-hander into a left. Lydia Fliegel will go first in the women's VI. Fliegel and guide Alexei Mayorov went 1:47.72. 28-year-old from the Moscow region. We'll get this second run underway very, very shortly. Fliegel's body language and style of run would suggest that this was more about getting out onto the snow and getting some practice rather than trying to push Mosova for that top position. Some 6+ seconds separated the two. Women standing, a slight surprise. Poronchikina will go last because she led after one run. She got a half-decent lead as well. Marie Boucher, if anyone, in the women's standing division, is capable of catching. Laurie Stevens has been the only female sit skier here in Sakhalin for the entirety of the competition. She continues that this afternoon. Well, 35-36. As I mentioned several times, Stevens' challenge is not against anyone else. It's purely to get to the bottom unscathed. Well, hopefully you're not tired. Hopefully Alexei Mayorov is not too tired. A big yawn there. In fact, that was Denis Perevoshchikov. He's a race director, Anya. Much better conditions today than she had to preside over the other day. The focus and thoughts going through the head. There's Binia Smith. Jog on the spot to keep warm. As it's warmed up and the sun's come out, a few more people have appeared at the finish gate. Here we go then. Lydia Fliegel of Russia. Alexei Mayorov, the guide. Again, a little steady start for these two into the drop here. It's a tough little right to left, that drop. Now it's just about listening and following the exact turns that are laid out into your ears by your guide. That guide, so important. Relay your instructions incorrectly, and it could lead to something catastrophic. Both these skiers are B3 within the classification, so they do have the highest level of vision permitted within the vision impaired category. Fliegel, at the moment, steady as you like. From the top, you get the sense of the in and out. Fliegel looks to complete her second run of the day. Uncontested. As they start to think about hitting the line. That first run earlier was 1:47.72. Their total time now 3:31.88. So Mosova to come. She was 6.55 seconds ahead. I can't imagine that will diminish too much, barring a mishap, of course. Some of the turns are quite gentle and steady, some much sharper than the last. Stretched it already, 7.15. Mosova looking good to take the standing, the vision impaired giant slalom here. Had an awful first day on the slopes, made it to about the fourth gate before sliding out. Perevozchikov and Mosova clearly regrouped, and they've been much steadier since then. 7.87 is how the lead has grown. Needs to certainly seem much more cautious than they did in their first run. So 3:31.88 is what we're looking towards for Fliegel's finishing time. And through they come. So 3:24.38. He slowed up again a little bit towards the end. And away goes our first standing athlete in the women's section then, Anastasia Gorasheva. Three-year-old. 14th place finisher in Pyeongchang. An athlete with CP, cerebral palsy. First run, Horasheva went 1:35.61. She was some way off the pace from everybody else. Schmidt went 1:27.80. She'll be next. Up to the 3-minute mark for Gorasheva. Tries to tuck in a little and find a bit of speed in the final section. Not a difficult ending. Through she comes in 3:15.23. Binja Schmidt of Switzerland next. Three-year-old got so close to a medal at the World Championships with a 4th place finish in the Super Combined last season.
Binja Schmidt from Switzerland, bib number 3 is on course.
13 seconds up on Kohorosheva. She was 8 seconds to the good after the first run, so she's already a speedy run from Schmidt compared. .75. Again, this a run of an athlete who doesn't have the ability to use ski poles in either hand due to her impairment. Has learned and adapted her style accordingly. 23-year-old races to the line. 2:56.18, so inside 3 minutes. Moshe 1:15.21 was behind Voronchikina, who went 1:14.18, so just over a second back. Moshe backs down from no challenge. Out she comes, looking to find the right line to close that second up. Of course, the pressure is on Voronchikina as well. Should Moshe get a finish, Voronchikina has to go quick. She has to stay on the course, and that's always the advantage of going second if the margin is quite tight. Or second to last, should I say, at least. Moshe, 15.4 up on Schmidt. That's not the challenge for her. The challenge for her is going quick enough that Voronchikina has to push herself perhaps too hard and make a mistake. Six-year-old motoring through the course neatly, effortlessly at times, it appears. Clattering through there. And now starts to really tuck in as tight as you can to get to that line. 21.51, it's 2:34.67. Over to you, Barbara. Over to you. Is that enough? Is this performance enough for Marie Bochet to go and sit in the leader's chair and stay there? Big moments for Voronchikina then here to show the rest of the world that she can compete at the highest level. A 19-year-old with a point to prove. These intermediate times will be important. Voronchikina led by 1.03 after the first run. Oh, she just had to stand up a little. Oh, she seems to be pulling away. Excellent stuff. 2.33 up here. That is an impressive start from Voronchikina. .233 is now 2:89. No mistakes needed here from the lady from Siberia. Born without part of her left hand, so again, no ski pole used in that side. And this is real smooth from Voronchikina. Just got a leg off the ground there a moment. I said, sometimes you push yourself too hard. Not at all this time around. 2:31.13. It's a top performance from Voronchikina. And Bochet suffers defeat, but you can't win absolutely every time, as much as she sets out to do so. Voronchikina finds the form and finds the formula to beat Marie Bochet. The 19-year-old does what not many have done before her. Picked off a double run quick enough to win in the standing section. Stevens, big slide in the opening section. Those sit skiers know that is a steep start for them. Really have to dig in and make those turns happen. The American doing so with ease so far here in Sakhalin. 35 years of age. Mentioned earlier, got a gold in Torino, so well over a decade back in 2006. Gold in the downhill, gold in the Super G, silver in the slalom back then. She's picked off a medal at pretty much every major event since then. Which is testament to how much she enjoys being out there on the mountain and how much effort she puts in behind the scenes to be in a position to pick up those medals when it comes to competition. See the single skier really working hard, fighting with the ice and the snow underneath, carving its own way around. Stevens went 1:35.56, not the slowest. She was actually quicker than Gorasheva. As to be expected, the two VI ladies were slower. And simple enough, there you go, Stevens through the line, 3:14.43, at second run, 1:38.87. Stevens, solid as always. And there is Voronchikina getting a high five. She gets a medal as well. A victory on the World Cup circuit. She'll pick up that medal on the podium that's right at the bottom of the mountain here this afternoon. So here's a look back at the women's events then. Musova from Khligel in the women's VI. Just seen Voronchikina getting the high five, or she gets to step onto the top of the podium later in front of Bosset and Smith. And Laurie Stevens, 3:14.43 for her combined efforts here in the giant slalom. So in terms of the women's events, a dazzling Russian does the business in the women's standing. Is this a name for the future? Host of Russian male athletes still to come. 3 in the men's standing, 2 in the men's VI category as well. And of course, that's where we will start. Manik Kubatska of Slovakia will come out first. Went 1:22.83. Kubatska was his first run here in Sakhalin at this competition. Didn't look to me like he was fully at the races as he normally is. 31-year-old. World champion of giant slalom, but today just not for him in the first run. the man that was quickest in the first run. Bertagnoli of Italy, 108.72. It wasn't just the quickest, it was quite a way in front. So Kubatska went 122.83. Maria Zatovikova guide job becomes more difficult. Yes, you want to push, but the reality is that without the other four all tumbling down, chance of a victory after the first run exceptionally slim, but a chance to get to know the mountain. This is their first day on it. So Kubacka and Zatovikova making their way down, looking for a small improvement perhaps. Can't begin to stress the importance of the trust element that goes with a guide and a blind skier. Kubacka has his visor completely blacked out. It's checked by officials to make sure that fair play is being adhered to, but because he is registered as a B1 athlete, he has the least visual acuity within the section of vision impaired athletes. Those goggles and face mask have to be blacked out, so no light can get through there. He is purely following the sound and the instructions. Now, Zatovikova will have a speaker on her back as well, so this is not just in the headset. Kubacka likes to follow the sound that comes out of the backpack that's being worn. And you hear the constant communication between guide and skier. Those instructions as simple as right and left, but following that sound, making sure you completely understand where and when to make that maneuver. Even the simplest of gates that look like that for the standing and the sitting skiers have a little bit more complication for a VI. 2:43.73. Kubacka, reigning world champion at Giant Slalom, finishes his day. Ivan Frantsev, currently in the third podium position. Bardi Kozhubov should be out next. Bib number 10. Up high on the mountain here in Juzhno-Sakhalinsk. Giant slalom today, slalom tomorrow. Miroslav Hadeos, closest to Bertagnoli on paper, but well over 5 seconds back. Where Kozhubov goes. His guide, Evgeny Geroyev. A real thirst, even at the age of 47. With Kozhubov. Only began competing in 2007. Double gold in Sochi, though. Really sold himself to the Russian audience. stretched his advantage over Kubacka. Again, the differences between each of these VI skiers and their guide. Giroyev gets quite far away from his skier, whereas often you see people like Hareos and Hudik really squeezing up towards a finish. 10 seconds or so, the advantage over Marek Kubacka, 10.79 to be precise, combined time of 2:32.94 for Marek Kozhibov. Now Ivan Frantsev of Russia. 27-year-old, along with his guide Roman Agarovsky. Currently in third. Do you push to try and catch Hareos in second? Or do you solidify that place on the podium, knowing that you were a little bit ahead over Kozhibov? He stays 2.98 seconds ahead of his compatriot. And the 2013 Slalom World Champion keep up the pace, 2.52, so he's lost a little bit of time here. Final few gates to navigate then. Frantsev following those instructions. Should stay ahead over Kozhibov. Has he put enough pressure on Hareos for second? He actually loses time again towards the end. So Kozhibov's second run was good. Hanging his head there, Frantsev, which would suggest perhaps he's not overly enamoured with the run. Now, Hareos had a couple of hairy moments. Bit of snow globe style snow coming down as well. The slow, soft trickle. Oh, and Hareos does slide out, backwards and out. And all of a sudden, Frantsev's run does put him in second by virtue of finishing. And Hareos is so frustrating to watch at times. He's brilliant on some days. And that's another slide out. It matches one of the downhill runs earlier in the competition. And it's right at the beginning as well. That will frustrate him. He never got going here in his second run. You see, just not getting to grips with that left-hander. And by the time he got himself up, he'd missed the next set of gates by going backwards as well. Well, from silver to sofa for Hareos. He'll have to watch the medal ceremony from afar. Always very frustrating for the skiers when they have to just make their way down, knowing that it has no bearing whatsoever on results. But Pagnoli is now out on the course, so in terms of a challenge for his lead, there really isn't one. A challenge out on the course, and of course there is one, because Hareos has just found a difficult patch, but Pagnoli and Ravelli have been in a decent run the last 5 or 6 days. Again, I mentioned this earlier about the difference in styles. Look how far Ravelli is away from Bertagnoli. 6.25 the lead. Ravelli is almost into the next gate. before Bertagnoli hits his. They've closed up a little bit here. Gap grows by a fraction. Unimportant really at the times here. Bertagnoli knows that he's going quick enough that just getting across the line here, his job done. And the marauding Italian is doing it his own way. Into the final section then. Starts to think about picking up speed through some of these less turny gates in towards the line. Bertagnoli takes it from Frantsev and Kozhubov. 8.39 seconds. He isn't just the winner, he's far, far away the winner. Bertagnoli leading from start to finish in this one. Brilliant first run. Compact and deliberate second run. It's enough to put him at the top of the podium once again. Somebody just shouted, good job. Understatement. So Bertagnoli takes it from Frantsev and Kozhubov. It's a lost out position on the podium for Haraeus Kubatska, world champion, finishing way down in this one. 2:22.66 for Bertagnoli and Revelli. Final checks for the men's standing event then. This is the most subscribed of the categories. We still have 13 in this one. Thomas Walsh. Is he lucky 13 or unlucky 13? He's the last to go by virtue of being the leader. If you're superstitious, you were hoping only 12 or 14 were in the event. Thomas Walsh will make his own luck at the end of this run. After Barchet finds himself down in fourth position. Is there a podium place for the young king of the slopes? Boyancic and Kivri separating Barchet from third and second. Thomas Walsh's run of 1:11.26 means he has a slight lead over Kivri, who in one section was ahead during his run. Should have Sergei Alexandrov coming out first. Double leg amputee. Russian skier getting himself ready up in the start section. Alexandrov went 1:33.96. Year-old should be getting us underway fairly soon. This is Thomas Grocha, third slowest on his opening run in the competition. A few people yawning, to be fair to the locals. They've worked hard. There was some real tough conditions the last couple of days. One of those was a race days yesterday when they had to move the course around. It wasn't the prettiest of weather outside my window. I mean, I would have helped and all that. Nobody asked, to be fair. The French quarter. One of those being Jordan Brossan. He, Bodanks and Barchet were 1, 2 and 3 for a little while at the first run. Here is Alexandrov.
From Russia, big number 26 is on court.
Man from St. Petersburg, of course, proud hosts of part of the European Football Championships this summer. I wonder if he's a fan of that, potentially get himself a watch of a game. Took himself off to Pyeongchang, competed there. Giant Slalom 29th place, Slalom 23rd. Just fighting with the course there. You could tell that wasn't a comfortable section for him. Alexandrov into the final parts of the course, and there he is, just tucking in. There's a slight right-hander in towards the line. Alexandrov once again shows that he can.
Is 1 minute 36.09. Total time 3 minutes 10.09.
Spencer Wood then. Not seen Spencer race until today. Been here with his teammates. They shaved his head last year. I can't remember why. It wasn't anything bad. They just shaved his head. I don't think he's grown it back since then. .51 in front of Alexandrov, as he would have expected. It was a good 10 seconds clear at the beginning anyway. So Wood really finding any difficulty. And he'll hit the line. 2:43.78. Grocha. We talked earlier on in the first run about Grocha's use of the outriggers, similar to those in the sit skis. Single leg skiers. He's the only one here, but there are quite a number of them on the circuit. Both the men's and the women's section. Some exceptionally good single leg skiers as well. Each impairment comes with its restrictions of what you can and can't do, of course, but competing in the standing category on one leg or two prosthetics, as you saw with Alexandrov. 8.5 seconds clear of Wood. Grocha looks a little bit more comfortable here in his second run of the day. I don't want to jinx that. He had a little wobble as soon as I said it. Point and go. Points towards the line and goes over it. 9.56 seconds ahead of Spencer Wood. 2:34.22 is now the time at the top. Alabiev of Russia next to tackle. 29-year-old from Dimitrov. Just got a little bit out of shape there, didn't he? A little wobble. Now needs to refine the rhythm. 1.49 seconds up. That means his lead over Grocha has gone downwards. He's picked it up a little bit here. 1.64 now. Alabyev's factored time is 100%, so his clock does indeed tick as a normal clock would. And Alabyev into the final 4 gates then. That's the last 2, that's the line. And his time is 2:32.19. He's 2 seconds clear of Rocha. Once he found the rhythm, after that early wobble, he looked quite good. Juzhno-Sakhalinsk. Went 1:14.80 earlier on. It's just 19 100ths ahead of Alabyev. So we'll see whether he is quicker or slower quite easily. Oh my word, he's just sneaked back inside that red gate. Hitting the blue one really threw him off balance, and he is now behind. 0.52, the slenderest of mistakes can cause the maximum punishment. And he's now behind Alabyev. Fairly lucky to still be going though. Rosan keeps on moving. 26-year-old falls to nearly a second down. What's he got in these final stages? Just getting himself as close as he can to the gates, but the odd one is just throwing him off balance. In towards the line he comes to 33.22. He's a second behind Alabyev in the end. So Rosan drops a position. This is the one that caught him. Tried to just do a minor scrape of the shoulder. It ended up being a major skirmish. Bordanks lost his right leg whilst out surfing in a shark attack only a few years ago. His love of adventure sport didn't stop that day. In fact, he said the hunger grew even stronger. Now with prosthetic that enables him to compete, his performances in the last year or so have got better, have got quicker, have got slicker. 1.15 clear of Alabyev. Slightly less, but not enough to worry him at this point. Oh, just a right foot up in the air for a moment. That's not what you want. Kept his balance well, though. How costly may that prove? Final lunge towards the line. He will go ahead of Alabyev. 1:14, the difference. 2:31.05 for Emmanuel Bordanks. Alexei Mikushkin is next. 21-year-old left arm amputee. We did well there. Legs were in a split position for a split second. He's hit 2 of these gates very, very hard already, and Maxim Mercushin can't be accused of not going for this, but he's gone all out of shape. Lucky to still be within the gates. Talk about pushing yourself to the limits. Visibly, Mercushin fancies it. Delivery, not quite there. He's dropped behind. That's understandable, but certainly Mercushin, he's going at speed because he's picked it up already. Well, that'll frustrate him. That opening section did him no favours whilst trying to find speed. He's certainly found some through this section, though. He's halved what he'd lost. And this kid is motoring. Well, a little bit like Veronchikina in the women's standing. Maxim Mercushin trying to prove a point in the men's. Oh, he still gets there. Well, that will frustrate him. That opening section will prove to be so costly when he finally got his rhythm going. I mean, look at that. He's almost stopped. So if you consider the fact that he's got himself back to being in front, how much quicker would he have been? He was in turbo. Brilliant from Mercushin. Thomas Field, 32 years of age. There's impairment on his right side. Time to tuck in. He's doing well here, Phil. 2.46 seconds through that section, but that wasn't where Mercushin was best, was he? Phil only led Mercushin by 7/100ths of a second. It was a very interesting battle this morning from Bordanks to Bauchet. There wasn't a lot in it at all. Phil pushing on. Oh, he's got a little wide through there. Got to stay upbeat though. Last 4. And that's the line. Well, the clock keeps on ticking. 2:30.69 is Mercushin's time. I have to come back and give you the time of Thomas Field in a moment. Well, by my reckoning, Thomas Field in the end finished at exactly the same time as Mercushin overall. Oh, Salka slides out. Well, Mercushin's run here gets better and better, despite the problems he had.
From Austria, Big 23 is on course.
Marcus Salka, as the venue announcer says, he's on course. No, he's not. He's off. Salka slides out. Hopefully no injuries picked up. It is icy on the mountain here in Sakhalin. Let's take a look here as he cuts in for this left. It just gets too low. Doesn't drive enough with the left foot to steer it. And out he goes. So Salka picks up the first DNF of the run. Just threw his ski pole down there in frustration. Gone and joined the coaches in coach's corner. There's Santeri Giveri, second place after the first run. About 0.4 of a second in it, so it's an interesting finish to the men's standing that we have. At the moment, Mercushin will be slightly kicking himself that that opening section wasn't good, because he's maintained a lead. Thomas Phil's time has been recognised as exactly level in total. Arthur Barchet didn't look at his best, but we know that at his best, he can beat anyone. What's he got here? Looking good for the 19-year-old. Clock showing 3.7 seconds, his advantage. A little slippy through that section a moment ago. .403. An improvement for Barchet. Can the young Frenchman keep up the speed? Will he put pressure on Walsh, Kiviri and Prijancic? Is this a podium run? We'll find out. 2:25.47. He knocked Mikushin off the top for now. Just about managed to stop in front of the spectators. He's absolutely covered them in snow, to be fair. I think he's misjudged the distance between the line and the blue air fence, but Arthur Barchet, well, that's took some out of him. Was it worth it? Prijancic, third after the first run. Oh, that's slippy through there. He's done really well. He seemed to take off sideways. Prijancic had a lead of 0.28 when he started the run. He's down by 0.89. We said Barchet is capable of brilliance, as he showed us that here. Prijancic, work to do if he wants to maintain that podium place. .53 now. Not just work to do for Prijancic. This is damage limitation all of a sudden. Kiviri and Walsh will just be in their own mind space, in their own little bubble at the top, getting ready for their run, but Prijancic goes behind Barchet. Niko Prijancic, 1:57.91. Just waiting for his time to come through on the system properly. 2:28.55. 2:28.55 puts him in second and ahead of Mikushin. Santiago Kiviri now to maintain second place. Can he dislodge King Arthur from his leader box chair? The youngster from Latin Rampa. Tucks his right arm inside his race bib. And he is ahead. 0.79 is the gap for Kiviri on Barchet. He did have a lead over Walsh at one point in the opening section. That disappeared as he hit the finish line. He still stays ahead, but it's only fractional now. Big job on for Kiviri. Barchet has thrown down the gauntlet to those that were still to come. Has Kiviri got something that will keep him ahead of Barchet in the final section? Half of his advantage went in that second section. Has he maintained enough speed to finish quick enough to go back to the top? 2:25.47. No, he has not. 1:59 down. Barchet celebrates one more athlete to come, and Kivri hasn't took Bachet from the top. It was a quick run from the Frenchman. There is a reason he is the World Cup leader and world number one all over at the moment. Can Thomas Walsh do what he needs to do? Is this a World Cup win for Walsh? He looked really quick and confident in his morning run. Doesn't need me to jinx that. What he needs is the same composure, the same line, the same speed that he managed to find in that opening section this morning, which blew everybody away. And he has a good lead. Walsh against the clock now. If he can maintain this will go down as two of Thomas Walsh's best runs of his career. He's just got to hold it. You saw the right arm there, really fighting to keep balance. 171, he hasn't lost a great deal. What he doesn't want to do is lose himself. Oh, he's clattered that gate, and that's what I'm talking about. Keep the composure. Keep on course. Now Walsh may have lost some time. This is all about the line. Keep your eyes peeled. 2:25.47. Oh, he's there. He's there by 0.21. Walsh takes it by 0.2 of a second. And he had a damn good go at losing it. Take a look at this. Absolutely clatters that gate. And Walsh, what you didn't see whilst you were looking at that replay, shouting and screaming to himself, delighted. Kivri probably not so much, but Bachet has taken himself from fourth to second, and my Thomas Walsh had an almighty go at not winning this from a very good position. He'll be delighted with the victory. He'll know he can do better with that second run, but he's done what he needed, and that'll put a big smile on his face. Andrew Kirker has already spent time on the podium for the Americans. Can he pick up the hat-trick of victories for the USA? It's a big hug for Thomas Walsh. Emotional performance, as I said. I think that's the best two runs of his career back-to-back. World Cup victory is Walsh's in a very, very tough field. Well done. Just a couple of gates, namely the one that Walsh destroyed. A couple of gates being put back together. Then we'll go into the men's sitting. As I say, Kirker, if he picks up the victory, will make it 3 for the USA. Stevens in the women's sitting. And now Thomas Walsh in the men's standing. Kirker's main challenge won't come from Pelly, it will come from Kirker's own mindset of going out there and attacking the course no matter what. Some 6 seconds the difference. There he is. There's the Kirker whistle. No need to guess what he's whistling this time. Just wish he had a bit more variety, Andrew. So the two of them just being held at the top. I mentioned this earlier on. It's tough for the men's sit skiers. They are last out of the gates. So any delays, once they're up at the top of the mountain, impact on them more than anybody. Every time there's a minuscule delay, it's those guys that find their start time pushed back and back and back. And this time, Kirker's delay is down to his own teammate destroying some of the gates before him. But Murat Pelli will get us going in the final section of the day. The men's sitting. Pelly went 120.78. He got a victory here on the mountain the other day. Can he put back-to-back runs together in tough conditions? We've seen that it's slippy and slidey. The men's standing skiers have had their difficulties in patches. Pelly just getting himself back up right there. Just a little wobble. He does love a good dramatic slide out. Doesn't matter. Pelly broke his arm in the build-up to Pyeongchang back in 2018. Got there, but you could tell it wasn't quite right. Pelly, one of those that has an infectious smile and laughter that you can't help but notice. And when he took victory the other day, it was a popular victory amongst the rest of the competitors here in Sakhalin. So far, so good for Murat. Well, if he gets across the finish line, he has one advantage over Andrew Kirker. It's the fact that he made it. Kirker pushes himself too hard. Pelly will take the victory from him. Here comes Murat into the final few gates then. Job done. And he hits the line 2:44.51. So a run of 1:23.73. Murat completes his second run. Now Kirker can only throw this away. And he, more than most, will know he doesn't want to do that. The whistling Alaskan. Whistling through the gates now.
Andrew Kurka from USA, 29 is on course.
9.76 seconds clear of Nurat Pelly, but it'll all be about the concentration of Kirker, about the delivery of the run. And like most in the world of Alpine, sometimes it's about testing yourself on a course to see how good you can be, not necessarily the time it takes you to get to the bottom, but he is pulling ahead. He is still, though, throwing himself at the gates as much as he can. Just holding that line. They get real low, these guys. The moment that blade leaves the ground, if you're not in control, it could spell trouble. Kirker doing what he needs to do as normal. And crossing the line as victor. It's good stuff from Kirker. Could say it's classic Kirker. It's a hat-trick of victories for the American team then. They will be more than happy with that. One more day to go in individual competition. They will have a quest to pick up some more. Kirker, used to being in the limelight, he has to share it with Thomas Walsh this time around, you have to say. The young American has done his teammates proud, but Kirker picks up another top podium position. The Americans will dominate the medal count here in the giant slalom. Kirker, 2:30.30 from Pelly. We'll take a look back at the action here at the giant slalom. Moskova takes it from Kligel in the all-Russian battle in the women's VI. Today for new names Barbara Voronchikina outpaces Marie Bochet over 2 runs to pick this one off in 2:31.13. Schmidt and Korasheva in 3rd and 4th, respectively. Roy Stevens goes 3:14.43 in her combined runs in the sitting. Men's VI, well, it offered us joint, or should I say double medals for the Russians in the end. Miroslav Haraeus sliding out early in his second run. Bertagnoli, though, looks absolutely fabulous. I'll talk to you about the men's standing in just a second. Kirker and Pelly competing in the sitting. It's Kirker's time. In the men's standing, Thomas Walsh hangs on in there after a brave performance by Bochet. It's Walsh's day. Long live the king. King Walsh is in the house. He's got his throne. He's got his World Cup victory. He'll have his smile later as well. From Sakhalin, from the Giant Slalom, from myself, Alan March. Goodbye.